The gavel slammed down like a thunderclap in the marble halls of the Harrington family estate, but it was the cold steel in his father's voice that shattered 10-year-old Chase's world. "You're no son of mine," Richard Harrington spat, his tailored suit impeccable even as his face twisted in revulsion, eyes narrowing at the boy clutching a crumpled drawing of two boys holding hands. Chase's small chest heaved, tears blurring the opulent library into a watery haze, as the man who'd promised to build empires turned his back, leaving only the echo of a door slamming shut and a lifetime of exile beginning right there on the Persian rug. Chase Harrington had always known he was different, even before the word gay stuck to him like a label on a forbidden book. Growing up in the shadow of Manhattan's glittering skyline, in a penthouse that overlooked Central Park like a king surveying his realm, life was a carefully curated performance. His father, Richard Harrington, was the CEO of Harrington Dynamics, a tech conglomerate that powered half the Fortune 500 with its algorithms and data streams. Richard was a titan, broad-shouldered, silver-templed, with a handshake that could seal billion-dollar deals and a glare that could freeze boardrooms. To the world, he was the embodiment of American grit, pulled himself up from a Queens tenement to Wall Street wolf. But at home, he was a director, scripting every scene, straight A's, lacrosse trophies, and a future etched in Ivy League gold. Chase's mother, Eliza, was the soft counterpoint, a former Broadway understudy whose laughter filled the high-ceilinged rooms like scattered rose petals. She baked apple pies on Sundays, read him stories of far-off adventures, and whispered that his sensitivity was a gift, not a flaw. But even she couldn't rewrite the script when Chase, at 8, started drawing pictures of boys as knights saving each other, or when he'd blush at the sight of the cute delivery boy with freckles like cinnamon sprinkles. "It's just a phase," she'd assure Richard over crystal wine glasses, her voice a fragile bridge. Richard would grunt, eyes on his BlackBerry, dismissing it as softness that a good boarding school would iron out. By 10, the phase had a name. It started innocently enough, a sleepover at his best friend Tommy's brownstone in the Upper East Side. Tommy's family had a pool, and after cannonballs and chlorine giggles, they dried off in towels, horsing around like colts. Chase felt it then, that electric pull, when Tommy's hand brushed his arm. Later, under the covers with flashlights casting heroic shadows, Chase leaned in and kissed him. Not a peck, but a real kiss, clumsy and sweet, tasting of root beer floats. Tommy giggled, pushed him away playfully, but the next day at school, whispers slithered like snakes. Chase kissed Tommy. "He's a fag." The word landed like a slap, foreign and venomous, but Chase didn't cry, not then. Word reached Richard via a frantic call from Tommy's father, a Harrington Dynamics investor with old money veins pulsing with homophobia. That evening, the penthouse felt like a courtroom. Eliza hovered in the doorway, wringing her silk scarf, while Richard loomed over the library desk, the city lights twinkling mockingly beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. Chase stood small, clutching his sketch pad, the offending drawing peeking out like a guilty secret. Two stick figures with linked hands, hearts doodled above their heads. "What the hell is this?" Richard snatched the paper, his voice a low rumble that built to a storm. Chase's heart hammered. "Dad, it's just... I like Tommy. Like, really like him." The room went still, the only sound the distant honk of taxis far below. Richard's face drained of color, then flushed crimson, veins bulging at his temples. He crumpled the drawing, tossing it into the fireplace where flames licked it greedily. Like him? You're 10 years old. Boy. This isn't like. This is sickness. Disgusting. Unnatural. His words cracked like whips, each one drawing blood. Chase flinched, tears spilling hot down his cheeks. Eliza stepped forward, her voice trembling. Richard, he's just a child. We can. Shut up. Eliza. Richard whirled, his finger jabbing the air. This is your fault. Coddling him, filling his head with fairy tales. Look at him, crying like a girl. Harrington men build things. They don't. They don't prance around with other boys. He turned back to Chase, eyes hard as flint. Pack your bags. You're going to military academy in the morning. And if you ever pull this shit again, you're out. No son of mine is a fairy. Chase's world tilted. Military academy? The place with buzz cuts and drills, where boys became men under barked orders. He looked to his mother, begging with wide eyes, but she only nodded weakly, mouthing it'll be okay. That night, as rain lashed the windows like accusatory fingers, Chase lay in his four-poster bed, the sheets cold against his skin. He whispered to the shadows, "Why me? Why can't I just be normal?" Sleep came fitfully, haunted by dreams of nights turning into monsters. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving. A black town car idled curbside, exhaust curling like cigarette smoke. Richard didn't say goodbye. He was already in his corner office by 7, barking orders at underlings. Eliza hugged Chase fiercely, slipping a locket into his palm, her photo inside, a talisman against the storm. Be brave, my love. You're perfect just as you are. The driver, a stoic man named Gus, loaded the single duffel bag. As the car pulled away, Chase pressed his face to the window, watching the skyline shrink, his home becoming a distant jewel box. He was 10, and already an outcast in his own bloodline. The academy was hell-forged in khaki and cadence calls. Upstate New York, amid pine forests that whispered secrets to the wind, Edmonds Military Institute was a fortress of conformity. Cadets rose at 0500, beds made with hospital corners, uniforms starched to razor edges. Chase, with his mop of unruly curls and artist soul, was a square peg in a round barracks hole. The older boys smelled weakness like sharks scent blood. Fairy Harrington, they'd sneer during PT runs, shoving him into mud puddles. Showers were the worst, naked vulnerability under fluorescent glare, where eyes lingered too long, judging, probing. But Chase adapted, because survival demanded it. He excelled in academics, devouring history texts on civil rights leaders who'd fought invisible wars. In secret journals, hidden under floorboards, he poured out his heart. Sketches of imagined lovers, poems scrawled in margins about boys with eyes like summer storms. Letters from Eliza arrived weekly, scented with lavender, full of coded encouragement. Remember, the rainbow follows the rain. Richards came quarterly, typed missives on company letterhead, shape up or ship out. No Harrington quits. By 13, puberty hit like a freight train. Chase's voice deepened, limbs stretched gangly, but the confusion deepened too. Crushes bloomed on drill instructors with chiseled jaws, on fellow cadets stealing glances in the latrine. He buried it deep, channeling energy into track, sprinting until lungs burned, outrunning the shame nipping at his heels. One night, during a forbidden midnight smoke behind the chapel, he met Silas, a lanky senior with a rebel streak and a guitar smuggled in his footlocker. Silas played folk tunes under starlight, voice husky as he sang about outlaws and lost loves. "You're different, Harrington," Silas said one evening, passing a pilfered cigarette. Their fingers brushed, and Chase's pulse thundered. "Not like these robots." "You got fire in you." Chase exhaled smoke, heart in his throat. "What if fire gets you burned?" Silas leaned closer, breath warm. "Then you rise from the ashes, kid." Their first kiss was tentative, hidden in the pines, tasting of tobacco and possibility. For a stolen summer, it was everything. Stolen moments in the boathouse, hands exploring in the dark, whispers of futures beyond barbed wire. Silas promised to wait when graduation called him to Annapolis. "We'll make it, Chase. You and me against the world." But promises are fragile as autumn leaves. Silas's letters tapered off, replaced by a curt postcard. "It's not me, it's the life. Don't follow." Chase burned it in the campfire pit, the flames mirroring the ache in his chest. Betrayal's first sting sharp, unyielding. He hardened after that, walls rising like academy ramparts. No more risks, no more vulnerability. By 16, he was top of his class, captain of the track team, a ghost of the boy who'd once drawn hearts. Graduation came under a relentless June sun. Richard appeared like a specter, chauffeured in from the city, his presence sucking oxygen from the parade grounds. He clapped stiffly as Chase crossed the stage, diploma in hand, but his eyes scanned for flaws. "Not bad, son," he grunted over lukewarm punch. "Now, Wharton. Business degree. Follow in my footsteps." Chase nodded, the word son tasting like ash. Eliza, frail now from the divorce she'd filed 2 years prior, citing irreconcilable differences that masked deeper fractures, hugged him tight. "I'm so proud. Call me anytime." She slipped him a check, enough for a fresh start. As Richard's car vanished into the horizon, Chase felt the weight lift, if only a fraction. Freedom beckoned, bitter and bright. Wharton was a whirlwind of Ivy ambition, Philadelphia's brick charm a balm to his scars. Chase majored in finance, minored in psychology, dissecting the human cost of empire building. Dorms buzzed with hookups and house parties, where straight-laced legacies drowned privilege in keg stands. Chase played the part, button-downs, networking mixers, a rotation of casual dates with girls who saw him as the sensitive type. But at night, in Philly's underground scene, dive bars and gayborhood with rainbow flags snapping in the wind, he let the mask slip. A grinder fling here, a drag show there, anonymous touches that scratched the itch without drawing blood. It was during sophomore year, at a campus rally for marriage equality, that he met Alex. The quad thrummed with chants and signs, "Love is love," as speakers railed against Prop 8's echoes. Chase, holding a poster he'd inked himself, locked eyes with a guy across the crowd. Tousled blonde hair, wire-rimmed glasses, a smile that cut through the noise like sunlight. Alex Rivera, poli-sci major from California, with a laugh that rolled like ocean waves and a tattoo of Audre Lorde's quote on his forearm. "Your silence will not protect you." They collided after the march, spilling coffee at a corner cafe. "That speech you gave? Fire," Alex said, stirring sugar into his latte. Chase blinked. He'd only shouted a few slogans. Me? Nah, I was just there. Bullshit. I saw you. Eyes like you were carrying the whole damn revolution on your shoulders. Alex's gaze held, warm and unflinching. They talked for hours, about coming out at 15 to immigrant parents who'd wept but hugged him anyway, about the ache of unrequited crushes, about dreams of changing the world one policy at a time. By midnight, they were walking the Schuylkill River Trail, hands brushing, then linking. Alex's kiss was gentle, exploratory, tasting of peppermint and promise. For the first time since Silas, Chase felt seen not as a flaw, but as a force. Their romance bloomed like cherry blossoms in spring. Weekends in Alex's off-campus apartment, cooking tamales from his abuela's recipe, debating Foucault over cheap Merlot. Alex was the yin to Chase's yang. Where Chase internalized pain, Alex externalized it through poetry slams and activist zines. They made love with the windows open to the city's hum, bodies tangled in sheets that smelled of them. "You're my anchor," Alex murmured one dawn, tracing Chase's collarbone. "In this storm we call life, but storms gather." Richard's shadow loomed, quarterly checks arriving with strings. "Intern at the firm this summer." "Prove your worth." Chase gritted his teeth, accepting, because Eliza's cancer diagnosis came like a gut punch stage 3, aggressive. He needed the money for treatments, for the experimental drugs insurance wouldn't touch. So he swallowed pride, stepping into Harrington Dynamics' glass tower, where Richard reigned from the 52nd floor. The internship was a trial by fire. Analysts sneered at the CEO's kid, piling grunt work on his desk. Richard summoned him weekly, dissecting reports like a surgeon. "Numbers don't lie, Chase." "Neither should you." The jab landed. Did Dad know about Alex? The late-night calls, the rainbow pin on Chase's lapel? Paranoia festered. One evening, after a brutal critique, "You're soft, just like your mother," Chase snapped. "Maybe soft is better than heartless." Richard's eyes narrowed. "Watch your tone, or those checks stop." The threat hung, a guillotine blade. Chase fled to the elevator, texting Alex, "Need you. Now." They met at a dive in Midtown, shots of whiskey burning away the bile. "He's poison," Alex said, pulling him close. "But your antidote. Don't let him dim you." Yet doubt crept in, insidious as fog off the Hudson. Alex's activism intensified, protests turning to arrests. His face splashed in local news as the voice of queer youth. Chase admired it, but fear gnawed. What if Richard saw? What if the empire crumbled under scandal? Their arguments started small. Missed dinners, unanswered texts, escalating to shouts about priorities. "You're choosing him over us," Alex yelled one night, after Chase bailed on a pride vigil for a board meeting. "No, I'm surviving. For us. For a future." But the words rang hollow. Betrayal brewed, not from malice, but from fractures too deep to mend without breaking. Summer faded into a brutal autumn, leaves carpeting Philly streets in crimson regret. Chase threw himself into senior year, thesis on corporate ethics in the digital age, a veiled indictment of men like his father. Alex, ever the optimist, cooed over drafts, marking them with red pen kisses. But the idyll cracked further when Eliza's chemo rounds stretched her thin, her voice a rasp on Sunday calls. Come home for Thanksgiving, sweetheart. We need you. Home, New York. The penthouse now a sterile museum of Richard's solitude post-divorce. Chase booked the train. Stomach knotted. Alex came too, a buffer against the chill. Richard tolerated him as the activist friend, eyes flicking over Alex's faded Obama tee with disdain. Dinner was a minefield, turkey dry as dust, conversation mined with barbs. So, Rivera, planning to overthrow capitalism, Richard quipped, carving the bird with surgical precision. Alex grinned, unfazed. Nah, just making it fairer. Like adding seats at the table for folks like us. Thus hung, queer, brown, unapologetic. Richard's fork paused mid-air, jaw tightening. Chase intervened with small talk about markets, but the air thickened. Later, washing dishes with Eliza in the kitchen, her hand frail on his. He's scared, Chase, of losing control. But you're blooming. That night, in the guest room, Alex's touch was fierce, reclaiming. Your dad's a dinosaur. We're the future. They moved together urgently, the city lights painting their skin in neon promises. But Dawn brought a text from Richard's assistant. Summer offer extended. VP track. Except by Monday. A golden handcuff, dangling security for Eliza's bills. Chase stared at the screen, Alex snoring softly beside him. Choice loomed, a fork in the river. He accepted. Not for Richard, he told himself, but for Mom. The move to New York post-graduation was seamless. Harrington Dynamics corner office on the 48th floor, views that mocked his caged soul. Alex followed, landing a job at a nonprofit in Brooklyn, bridging the boroughs with late-night trains. Their apartment in Chelsea was a sanctuary. Exposed brick, bookshelves groaning under queer lit, a balcony overlooking the Hudson where they'd sip wine and dream. We'll adopt one day, Alex said, head on Chase's lap. A kid who gets to be free from the start. Chase smiled, but the VP title chafed like wool. Board meetings were echo chambers of white men in power ties, decisions doled like crumbs to diversity hires. Richard mentored from afar, golf outings at Westchester clubs where whispers of the son's boyfriend slithered among the greens. Chase buried the unease in work, closing deals on AI ethics platforms, ironically policing the very surveillance that ensnared souls like his. The romance deepened, roots tangling. Alex's poetry chapbook launched at a Soho reading, Chase in the front row, heart swelling as verses poured out. In the crack of your ribs, I find my republic. They celebrated with dim sum in Chinatown, hands intertwined under the table, then tumbled home to make slow, reverent love, bodies mapping each other's histories. Alex traced Chase's scars, the faint ones from academy fights, the deeper emotional gashes. Tell me about him, Alex urged one rainy afternoon, as thunder rumbled over the skyline. Him, Chase hedged, sketching absently on a napkin. Your dad. The denial. I want all of you. The words spilled then. Damn too long. The gavel voice, the crumpled drawing, the exile to pines and drills. Alex listened, tears streaking his cheeks. God, Chase. That's not fatherhood. That's abandonment. He pulled Chase close, kisses salt-tanged. But look at you, phoenix from that fire. I love you for it. I love you, Chase whispered, the words a vow. For months, it held. They marched in pride, rainbows painted on cheeks, Alex's sign reading queer and here. Chase spoke at a corporate ally panel. Voice steady, diversity isn't a checkbox, it's rewriting the code. Richard sent a terse email, proud. Keep it professional. A thaw, or a trap, cracks widened subtly. Alex's nonprofit ballooned, grants pouring in for youth shelters, pulling him into endless meetings. Chase's hours stretched, mergers demanding souls. Dinners became takeout at midnight, arguments flaring over forgotten anniversaries. You're becoming him, Alex accused one night, after Chase snapped about a canceled date. The suits, the silence. Where's my revolutionary? He's dead, Chase shot back, venom born of exhaustion. Buried under student loans and mom's meds. This is real life. Alex, real life or safe life? The door slammed, Alex storming to the couch. They reconciled by morning, apologies sealed in desperate sex. But the fracture lingered, a hairline in glass. Eliza's remission came like a miracle, scans clear, color returning to her cheeks. They celebrated at her favorite bistro in the village, candlelight flickering on her smile. You've built something beautiful, Chase, she said, squeezing his hand. Don't let fear steal it. Her eyes flicked to Alex, warm with knowing. But Richard crashed the after-party vibe with a call. Major acquisition. Japan trip. You're leading. 2 weeks in Tokyo. Glamour on the surface. Isolation beneath. Chase boarded the flight. Alex's kiss lingering at JFK. Come back whole. Tokyo was neon fever. Skyscrapers clawing the sky. Sake-fueled negotiations in ryokans. Chase closed the deal. Richard's voice booming over video. Knew you had it in you, son. The word stung sweet. A drug. But nights alone in the suite. Jet lag gnawing. He scrolled Alex's Instagram. Protests in Ferguson echoes. Fists raised. Texts went unanswered amid time zones. Paranoia bloomed. Is he seeing someone? Tired of waiting? Back in New York. The apartment felt alien. Dust motes dancing in slanted light. Alex greeted him with a hug, but his eyes were shadowed. Missed you. But we need to talk. Over cold pizza. It unraveled. Alex had been offered a fellowship in San Francisco. LGBTQ policy at a think tank. A dream gig. It's 2 years. I want you to come. We could start fresh. Away from this machine. Chase's gut twisted. And my career? Mom? I can't just. Your career's killing you. And Richard's puppet strings? Cut them. Alex's voice cracked. Or are you too scared? The fight exploded. Accusations of selfishness. Ultimatums veiled as choices. I love you, Alex pleaded. But I can't be the side quest to your empire. Chase, pride armored, lashed out. Then go. See if Callie fixes what's broken. The door closed softly that time. Alex's duffel thumping down the stairs. Silence roared, thicker than Tokyo traffic. Days blurred into weeks. Chase drowned in work. Promotions stacking like poker chips. Senior VP by 25. The youngest in firm history. Richard clapped him on the back at the gala. Champagne flutes clinking. Told you. Blood runs true. But blood felt diluted. Tainted. Eliza noticed. During chemo-free lunches. Darling, love isn't a ledger. Balance it wrong, and you bankrupt the heart. He tried reaching Alex. Voicemails echoing in empty lofts. Texts unread. A mutual friend spilled. Alex thriving in the Bay, dating a barista poet with sleeve tattoos. Betrayal landed like the gavel anew. Not dramatic, but devastating. Chase hit the gym, runs pounding pavement until knees screamed, then bars where faceless men offered oblivion. Hookups were mechanical, bodies without stories, leaving him hollower. The turning point came at a Harrington Dynamics retreat in the Hamptons, White Sands, power players yachting. Richard pulled him aside on the deck, ocean crashing below. Son, I've been thinking about back then. The academy, his voice roughened, scotch sloshing. I was hard on you, protecting the name. But you're proving me wrong. Proud. Chase's throat closed. Proud? You disowned me at 10, Dad. For being me. Richard flinched, gaze seaward. I regret it. Family's all we got. The olive branch, gnarled and late. Chase wanted to hurl it back, but exhaustion won. Maybe. One day, back in the city, momentum built. Chase channeled the ache into action, spearheading the firm's first LGBTQ employee resource group, speaking at HRC dinners. His voice, once silenced, resonated. Coming out isn't a moment, it's a movement. Applause thundered, but inside, the void yawned. 2 years post-Alex, at 27, the invite arrived, TDX Midtown slot. Reclaiming the narrative, from exile to empowerment. Chase prepped obsessively, script a tapestry of pain and phoenix. The night before, nerves jangling, he called Eliza. What if they hate it? They won't. Because it's true. Her pause. Then, Richard's coming. He bought tickets. Chase's blood iced. Dad, in the audience, after everything, why? Said he wants to understand. Finally, sleep evaded, ghosts parading, the drawing aflame, Silas's postcard, Alex's duffel. Dawn broke, stage lights beckoning. The auditorium hummed with anticipation, a sea of faces under the proscenium arch, suits mingling with activists, the air electric as pre-show chatter. Chase paced backstage, mirror reflecting a man he barely recognized. Tailored charcoal suit hugging his frame, hair styled just so, but eyes haunted by what-ifs. The prompt on his phone glowed, breathe. You're not 10 anymore. A stagehand tapped his shoulder. 5 minutes, Mr. Harrington. He nodded, heart a war drum. Out front, Richard fidgeted in row 3, program creased in his lap. At 62, time had etched deeper lines around his eyes. Silver hair thinned, but the posture remained Ramrod CEO to the core. He'd come alone, Eliza too weak for crowds, her blessing a text. Speak your truth, love. Why now? Guilt from a recent boardroom ouster scandal over data privacy breaches, whispers of his obsolescence. Or genuine thaw. Richard scanned the program. Chase Harrington, Senior VP, Harrington Dynamics. Pride flickered, mingled with dread. What truths would spill? The moderator's voice boomed. Please welcome Chase Harrington. Applause swelled as Chase strode center stage, spotlight warm on his skin. He gripped the podium, scanning the crowd, there, mid-rows, his father's gaze locked, Unreadable. Deep breath. The hook lines, rehearsed 1,000 times, launched him. You think you know rejection? Try being 10, clutching a drawing of love, only for your father, the man who built empires, to burn it and burn you out of his life. No son of mine, he said. And just like that, I became a ghost in my own family. Gasps rippled, Chase's voice steady, laced with gravel emotion. Richard shifted, knuckles whitening on the armrest. Chase wove the tale. The Academy's brutality, Silas's fleeting light, Wharton's masks. I learned to sprint from shame, to box my heart in spreadsheets. But love, it found me anyway. Alex's shadow loomed here, unnamed but vivid poetry nights, balcony dreams, the San Francisco fracture. He asked me to choose, safety or soul. I chose wrong. Betrayal isn't always a knife. Sometimes it's a mirror, showing the coward you've become. The audience leaned in, tissues dabbed. Chase pivoted to triumph. The ERG launch, policies shifting under his push. But here's the fire. We queers don't just survive. We rewrite the code. From denied sons to defiant speakers, we claim the narrative. He locked eyes with Richard then, deliberate. Because blood may bind, but forgiveness, that's earned in the light. Thunderous ovation crashed as he stepped back, chest heaving. Backstage, hugs from organizers, cards pressed into his hand. Life-changing, one whispered. Chase's phone buzzed, Eliza, sobbing proud tears. Call me. But his eyes sought the exits, scanning for a broad-shouldered figure. Richard lingered in the lobby, nursing a water, face ashen. Dad, Chase approached, voice neutral. Richard cleared his throat, extending a hand formal, then pulling into awkward hug. That was powerful. Didn't know half of it. His eyes, red-rimmed. The Alex part. I'm sorry if you did, blunt, no sugar. Pushed me into that cage. Richard nodded, slow. I was scared. The board, the investors, family values bullshit. Thought it'd ruin you. Ruin us. A beat. But you're better than me. Always were. The admission hung, fragile as spun glass. Chase searched his face. Regret etched deep, but real. Why now, after years of silence, seeing you up there? Panicked, like you said. Thought I'd lost you forever. Richard's voice cracked, a Titan humbled. Can we try coffee? Not as CEO and VP. As family. Chase hesitated, the boy in him yearning, the man wary. Maybe. One step. They met the next week at a midtown diner, greasy spoons a far cry from Richard's clubs. Over eggs and black coffee, walls tumbled brick by brick. Richard spoke of his own ghosts. A closeted uncle suicided in the 70s, whispers that scarred. Thought I was saving you from that. Instead, I built the cage. Chase shared Alex's aftermath. The bar crawls, the therapy couch where he unpacked the denial's echo. It wasn't just you. It was me, believing I had to earn love. Eliza joined virtually, her face glowing on FaceTime from the penthouse recovery room. My boys, she beamed, mediating with gentle prods. Progress crept. Richard attended a PFLAG meeting, awkward in khakis among rainbow parents. Chase brought him to a youth center, watching as Dad handed out pride stickers to wide-eyed kids. "Never too late," Richard muttered, a smile ghosting his lips. But romance's void ached. Alex's ghost lingered in playlists, in empty balcony chairs. Chase dated sporadically, an architect with kind eyes, a musician whose laugh echoed Alex's, but none stuck, sparks fizzling against the wind of what-ifs. Then, at a gala for the Ali Forney Center, he met Jordan. Tall, with locks cascading like midnight rivers and a dimple that disarmed, Jordan was a social worker turned advocate, voice smooth as jazz when he cornered Chase by the bar. "Your TEDx had me ugly crying in my Uber." "What's the sequel?" Chase chuckled, first real laugh in months. Spoiler, more messy grace. They talked till closing, Jordan's foster care scars mirroring Chase's exiles, dreams of policy reform over bourbon neat. A week later, dinner at Jordan's Harlem walk-up, jazz vinyl spinning, curry simmering. Their kiss ignited slow, building to inferno, hands reverent, bodies syncing like forgotten rhythms. Jordan stayed the night, dawn finding them entwined, whispers trading vulnerabilities. "You're not a sequel," Jordan murmured, fingers in Chase's hair. "You're the whole damn story," felt right, grounded, without ultimatums. Jordan knew Richard's history, met him at a neutral brunch, charm diffusing tension. "Mr. Harrington, Chase says you're turning the page." "Respect." Richard grunted approval. "Call me Richard." And yeah, trying. Eliza adored him, dubbing him the healer. Dates wove into routine, farmers markets in Union Square, hikes in the Palisades where they'd unpack fears by waterfalls. Love bloomed quiet, profound, notes in lunch bags, late-night calls when Jordan traveled for conferences. Yet conflict simmered. At work, Richard pushed for a merger with a conservative tech firm, roots in red states, whispers of anti-LGBTQ clauses buried in fine print. Chase uncovered it during diligence, heart sinking. "Dad, this poisons everything we've built." The ERG, the policies, gone overnight. Richard waved it off in his office, skyline brooding. "Business, son. Can't let feelings tank billions." "Feelings? This is lives." "Kids like I was burned out." Voice rising, Chase slammed the file. "Choose, merger or me." Richard's face hardened. Old reflexes. "Ultimatums? After all this?" Silence stretched, taut. "Fine. Pull the plug." But the cost rippled board fury. Stock dips. Richard's throne wobbling. Whispers turned to shouts. The sun's queering the company. Richard weathered it, but isolation crept, allies peeling away. Jordan saw the toll, holding Chase through nightmares. "You're fighting the war he started. But win or lose, you're free." Intimacy deepened. Jordan's touch a salve. Lazy Sundays in bed, exploring scars with lips, building trust layer by layer. "Marry me?" Jordan asked one evening, ring simple platinum, on the balcony under stars. Chase's yes was tear-streaked, a reclamation. Wedding planning buzzed small. In the village, Eliza officiating from a wheelchair radiant. But betrayal struck like lightning. A leaked email chain surfaced. Richard, in merger talks, had floated restructuring the ERG to appease partners, code for gutting it. Anonymous tip to Chase's inbox, time-stamped pre-walkback. Rage boiled. Confrontation in Richard's office. Door ajar to indifferent assistants. You lied. Again. Chase hurled printouts. Voice shattering. One step? Bullshit. You were playing me. Richard paled, sputtering. It was strategy. Leverage. I stopped it. Stopped? Or sold out? Betrayal's knife twisted deep, echoing the drawing's flames. Chase stormed out, wedding invite unsent. Jordan urged Grace. Hear him out. Or the cycle spins. But trust, fragile rebuilt, lay in shards. Eliza mediated, frail voice bridging. He's flawed, Chase. Like us. But he showed up. Richard arrived at the apartment unannounced, eyes hollow. I panicked. Thought losing the deal lost everything. Including you. Confession poured. Therapy notes. Regrets scrawled. You're my son. Gay. Straight. Doesn't matter. I was wrong. Forgiveness teetered. Chase nodded. Tentative. Prove it. Publicly. The press conference was electric. Richard at podium, Chase beside. Harrington Dynamics stands with our LGBTQ family. No mergers at their expense. Flashes popped. Headlines bloomed. CEO's redemption arc. Skeptics scoffed. But for Chase, it was exhale. The wedding unfolded like a dream woven from city grit and heart silk. A rooftop affair in Chelsea. Fairy lights strung against the dusk skyline. The Hudson a silver ribbon below. Guests mingled under tents. Jordan's boisterous familia from Queens. Eliza in lavender silk beaming from her seat. Even Richard, stiff in linen, but present, toasting with genuine warmth. To love that defies odds, he said, glass raised, voice catching. Chase met his eye across the crowd, a nod sealing fragile peace. Vows exchanged under a chuppah borrowed from a queer rabbi friend. Jordan's, I choose your fire every dawn. Chase's, you make my exile home. Rings slid on, kisses sealed with cheers. The night dissolving into salsa and slow dances, bodies swaying to Coltrane's Hush. Honeymoon in Provincetown, Cape Cod's queer haven. Dunes whispering secrets. Whale watches spotting breaches like metaphors for breaking free. They biked trails lined with pitch pine, picnicked on beaches where waves lapped forgiveness. Nights in a lighthouse B&B, lovemaking fierce and tender, Jordan's hands mapping joy's territories. This is us, Jordan breathed, sweat slicked. Unbroken, Chase believed it, scars fading to stories. Back in the grind, equilibrium held. Chase climbed to EVP, greenlighting initiatives, trans healthcare grants, ally training mandatory. Richard mentored without meddling, golf games turning confessional, tales of 80s Wall Street excesses, regrets over Eliza's pain. Divorce was my fault, he admitted one fairway. Club idol. Pushed too hard. Don't repeat. Chase absorbed, applying to his marriage. Date nights enforced. Therapy joint to unpack baggage. But life, that American tapestry of triumph and tangle, through curves. Eliza's cancer whispered return, metastatic, shadows on scans. The family rallied, Richard funding trials at Sloan Kettering, Chase and Jordan shuttling her to appointments, her apartment a hub of laughter amid for drips. My warriors, she'd quip, frail hand in theirs. Jordan's advocacy surged, a bill co-sponsored for foster youth protections, Chase lobbying Hill contacts. Pride swelled, love as activism, intertwined. The high watermark. Chase's keynote at Stonewall 50. Masses flooding Greenwich Village streets. Rainbows unfurling like flags of reclaimed night. Richard attended, arm linked with Eliza's, their presence a quiet revolution. On stage, Chase's words soared. From a boy's burned drawing to this sea of us, denial dies in daylight. Off stage, Richard hugged him. Gruff, you saved me, kid. Tears mixed, absolution salt. Yet humanity's arc bends slow. Richard's health faltered, prostate scare, then full-blown. Irony bit, the titan felled by his own fortress body. Hospital rooms became confessional. Richard, tubes snaking, gripping Chase's hand. Proudest thing I did? Stepping back. Letting you lead. Chase forgave fully then, the boy and man merging. We led together. Dad. Eliza went first. A quiet exit in autumn. Leaves gold as her laugh. Funeral at Riverside. Eulogies weaving her as the heart's architect. Richard followed spring. Boardroom empty. Legacy rewritten in Chase's hands. Grief bound the couple tighter. Jordan's shoulder Chase's harbor. We carry them, Jordan said. At the graveside, wind off the river. Years unfurled. Company evolved under Chase's helm, ethics core to code. Jordan's bill passed, shelters blooming nationwide. They adopted little Theo, 5, with curls like Chase's and eyes full of wonder. Fatherhood healed fractures. Bedtime stories of knights who loved freely, park runs chasing giggles. Anniversaries marked with balcony toasts, rings glinting. 35. Chase revisited the TEDx stage. Sequel title, From Panic to Pride, A Father's Echo. Audience rapt as he closed the circle. He denied me, then saw me. Panic turned to presence. That's the human story, not perfection, but pursuit. Ovation crested. Jordan in front row. Theo on his lap clapping chubby hands. Backstage, Chase pulled them close, heart full. In the end, it wasn't happily ever after, no fairy tale gloss. It was messy, profound. Betrayals mended with effort. Love earned in increments. Humanity's quiet roar. Chase Harrington, once a ghost, now a light, guiding others from shadows, one truth at a time. And in the skyline's endless gleam, he heard echoes, "You're my son. Always were."